Okay, hi everyone. My name's Rebecca, and in these spaces, I normally introduce myself as like one of Stephanie Rarick's biggest fangirls, and have accompanied her in many parts of the journey that she's taken in our community. But since January 28th of this year, like all of my accomplishments and goals have collapsed into like just wanting to be the best grandma to Pearl that I can be. So this is Pearl. She's a musician. She's a percussionist. She sings. She's awesome. She sees spirits all the time. She's looking around. And she lives in Manchester, England, and her parents are here for 3 weeks. So I'm super excited about that. But honestly, like being around a little one like this, for whom like a pen is something incredible and every little thing is new and amazing, isn't it, Pearl? It just renews all of my motivation to make the world a better place, and to not make the world a better place, to like guide her and like stay strong in my vision that the world can be a better place, that it is, because I don't want to put any crap onto her, right? So I mean, in my life, I've worked in, I still am a worker owner at Union Cab, worker cooperative. I drive taxi and have done for 21 years, and I've worked at the national and international level of building the worker co-op movement, which is a really slog uphill struggle in this country, being given our culture of like just rabid individualism and non-cooperation. But I believe we can do it, and we have to keep trying. I served for 6 years on our city council here in Madison, trying to do, Alan, what you were talking about, recommunizing whatever we could, you know, really resisting, yay, privatization, and bringing things back into the commons. And I'm just really glad to be here with you all and with Pearl. And I think I'm just gonna let her sing and turn my mic off. So Sibyl, I don't know, have you gone yet?
Super. I'm a grandmother too, and I don't understand what you feel. It's so good. I will see him. He's 3 years old on Wednesday. And yes, it's motivating to make a better world so they can grow, and it's a bit sometimes a bit also and give me some anxiety, because the world is not really a good place now. So I'm Sibyl from France, and my passion is cooperation. I think we have all on earth to live all together, but then we don't know. We are totally cut from our natural cooperation behavior, as we see in nature it's happening. So I'm using my software experiments and my old governance and economical and money expertise to frame some cooperation architecture for the one who are willing to make a better world. And I'm also vice president of the Humans. Should I give the speech to someone? Randy, you want to speak?
Thank you. I'm Randy Colonia. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. And I would agree with Rebecca. I'm a huge fan of Stephanie, who has sort of been leading me in discovery of so many things. I'm humbled to be with all of you. I am just inspired by the amazing things that are going on, and especially internationally through Stephanie's doing this human thing. It's just amazing this weekend, hearing from people all over. I realize there's so much I have to learn, so many assumptions that have just been part of my worldview that I've known for a long time that the system's broken. I just haven't had a real clear understanding of what to do about it. So this is really, really valuable to me. I'm very much, my big thing has always been feeling like the idea that everybody has to have their own everything is just a whacked out way to run a world. And so I've been very involved with just within my neighborhood, trying to say, I've got a ladder, so don't go buy a ladder, that kind of stuff. Very, very basic kinds of things. And through Stephanie, I'm discovering, well, through the time bank and other things, just the idea of getting away from, money drives everything. Just shifting away from that and helping each other out is just something I realize I've got to learn a lot more about. So I'll be listening a lot and appreciating what you all have to say. So I'll pass it on to Kathy.
See, I already went, so I'll pass it to Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica. I'm a new attorney at the Sustainable Economies Law Center. I'm a fellow. Oh, hi, baby. That's cute. I'm a legal fellow funded to work with mutual aid organizations. So I met with Stephanie a couple of weeks ago, and she invited me to attend this meeting. So yeah, excited to be here. Who hasn't gone yet?
Kate, Michael Goratz.
Okay, I'll pass it to Kate.
Don't know if I can talk right now. I feel incredibly emotional. It's so beautiful seeing Pearl there. You'll have gathered I've been travelling back from Scotland, but it was actually a time banking holiday in Scotland, of all things. But I just want to share something. Like, I feel joyful being here with all of you. And I picked up, a bit of the Detroit session. It was really difficult to be to sort of hear it all because I was traveling and moving around and all of that. But I was in Scotland, and that I hadn't been to Scotland for a few years, and nature touched me the last couple of days, and I feel I'm opening up, and I feel incredible hope that it's really difficult times, but they have to be difficult times for us to connect and to what's happening. It's both risky and hopeful, and I think there's enough people that are actually starting to get to a place it's like that we need another story, and I'm actually in Beverley in East Yorkshire, but my work is in Hull and East Riding of Yorkshire, and we've been a sister site of mutual aid networks, I guess it's 2015 when it was incorporated, and it really feels like things are starting to move here now. I mentioned earlier that I was asked to facilitate our Hull's first public assembly last week, and I felt a huge responsibility around that, but it was just wonderful, the people that came and the activists and from very different sort of interest groups and everything, and who it's fine. Basically what we're trying to do is host an emergent space, and we have this thing called City of Culture, and we were City of Culture in 2017, and it was part of an exhibition, this assembly, and so it's like it's having I don't know, a creative artistic space, as a neutral space to hold this, and they've committed to hold that. And we also got news that Control Shift Summit, we're going to bring that to Hull as well. So, you know, we started as a time bank in the same way that Stephanie did, and then we moved into mutual aid, and we've got our own centre, and we're moving towards becoming a cooperative development agency, and we've got lots of businesses that are bubbling up, and suddenly there's like lots of cooperatives that are exploding, and it's challenging because not everyone's getting it, but it just feels like it's moving in the right direction now, and it's just wonderful to be here. So yeah, hello. I'll pass on to John.
I think that's Goratz. It's JDN instead of John.
Sorry, I forgot to change my name. Actually, it's for some just a second. Okay, it's good to have unpronounceable name because you're always then the last to speak. So just a little about me. For those who doesn't know anything about me, approximately 8-9 years ago, I felt that it's time for me to step off this train that is destined to oblivion of this stupid civilization, and I asked myself, what can I do actually? What can I? Is it even possible for a normal human being, which is empathic and ethical, to do something in this crazy world? And well, approximately 6 years ago, I switched to high gear, and I actually dumped everything. I left the job, and I was just investigating stuff, doing everything. And now I think I know and approximately in which direction to go and what to do, with the help of a lot of friends that I made in this journey, and let's see where this is taking us with humans and with all the other cooperatives in the world. And is there somebody else here? Ah, Michael.
Thanks, everyone. It's been very rewarding to hear a little bit about you all and your journey. My journey has been that I began doing activism and organizing around universal human rights, and the way in which human rights are a place to begin, the kind of world that we want to build, not a place where we're going to sort of end if we achieve that, but a place to begin. And what I'm doing right now is working with a number of organizations that connect or converge issues of racial justice, economic justice, environmental justice, and the aspect of how we negotiate our humanity with technology, just generally speaking, digital justice. And a part of that has to do with the work I do with an organization called Common Good, which is a platform for values exchange and the exchange of values in an economic solidarity framework. And unlike a lot of other organizations, even though there are quite a few like it, we connect with the banking system. So we actually connect the exchanges that we do with conventional fiat currency, as well as mutual aid that exists outside of the confines of currency and sort of standard or status quo, what's considered economically valuable, reconsidering value, and then in a gift economy, sharing that reconsidered value with each other. I also work on infrastructures, concrete, literally and figuratively, infrastructures that have to last for multiple generations. So a lot of my focus right now is around organizing for community-owned solar and the ways that relates to community-owned broadband. A friend that I'm working with who was a Black Panther said that he came up learning how to live the reality of power to the people. And now that we're working on community solar, we're manifesting power to the people in not just a metaphor, but a material fact. And the work that I'm driven by is the notion that we are all change agents and that we all have something to teach and something to learn. So it's built around the notion of learning communities, the idea that underpinning all of what we do has to be vital learning communities that build agency. And the fact that everything that we do is informed by arts and culture. So the notion that whether it's engineering or whether it is caretaking of little ones or elders or all of us, that it has to be informed by arts and culture, because that's a part of our central human expression and definition. So that's what brought me here, and I'm glad to be here.
Beautiful. Ardell, welcome. It's good to see you. And you are just in time. We are doing real introductions of ourselves, and then we'll jump into sort of the businessy part, but it's going to be, it won't be too businessy. So can you just introduce yourself, like say who you are, whatever that means?
Yeah. Sorry, I had my, I had intended to jump on a lot earlier. I am living up in British Columbia. I've been involved with Solidarity Summit for about a year, and participated in some of the planning meetings and just trying to get a feel for all the good work that they're doing. And I'm working pretty heavily on a related project that is called IC Match for Intentional Communities. It's a good fit for the solidarity type of space. Kind of in a nutshell, kind of helping people, giving people a platform where they can have a detailed profile that can help them identify other people who have similar lifestyle and interests, to join into like mutual aid networks and so forth is the main purpose. But and it can be used for other things, if people want to, intentional communities, like even like build your own fraternity house or something. But that's basically it.
Thank you. In the previous session, we did tips and tools for mutual aid now, and we made a shared document, and that would be a good tool to add to that. So I'll be sure to have that link. And it's very interesting how it fits. Thank you. Thanks. I believe that we've heard from everyone.
I'd like to add another thought into this before we start whatever is the program.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I heard mention of we need a new story. I heard mention we need to look at the international perspective. And while I work in my town on the Commons, I have been for most of my political life engaged with dealing with the war system. When we talk of system change, I think we need to name the system. That was a main thrust of the first demonstration against the war in Vietnam in April of 1965. From the SDS, I was an organizer of the Students for Democratic Society back from 1959 on. Now we're Seniors for Democratic Society. I think that we need to see whatever we are doing in the context of a system of war, imposition, command, hierarchy, violence, impunity, and we need to see that we are looking toward a different system than the one that has prevailed at least for the last 5,000 years and led us to this crisis of caring, sharing, helping, healing. Mutual aid is a good framework for that. And so system change needs to be a theme throughout in whatever we do. And in coming to look at how we get out of the wars, I had occasion at the, before the end of the Vietnam War, I've become a woodworker. I'm a cabinet maker by trade. And I had the occasion to make a family table of any shape I want. And at that time in early 1975, the question of the shape of the table for the meeting to end the Vietnam War was a question in the underneath the news, and those who were alive then will remember that in 1972 and 3, they tried to have a meeting in Paris and could not meet for months because they could not agree on the shape of the table at which to sit. Bizarre, Byzantine life on earth. And I designed a table to be receptive to all outstanding questions. And I urge in some way that we see how to put down the gun and come to the table to talk. The table is designed on the image of the receptive, which from the Chinese Book of Change of 5,000 years or so, envisions that Earth, what is, where we are, is represented by a square, and heaven, what is to be, is represented by a circle. And in the cycle of change, what is becomes what is to be. Earth becomes heaven, or in our terms, community. War becomes peace, and the square becomes a circle with nothing lost. That is, the change is not through negation, rejection, exclusion, but rather transformation of relationships. And so this table began as a square, family size, 66 inches. I cut out a 60-inch circle for the circle of community and used all the remainder to make the square base, and the four corners I put together to support the circle of heaven above the square of earth on the coming together of the four directions. Very beautiful. It's out on the web called peacetable.com or .org. And then I try and think, well, what is this square of our earth, of the enclosure in which we are? And Martin Luther King put forward the three questions that we have to deal with: materialism, racism, and militarism. And I'm suggesting that the fourth side of this square is nationalism. And within those four frameworks of accepted dogma in our society, that is what we have to rise out of and above. And we can walk out over the thresholds into the no person's land outside of the square into our isolation. But humanity is enclosed in that square of those four taken axioms of what civilization is about. And that's what we have to rise above. And somehow from the four directions, which the indigenous people have many names for, we rise above to support the circle of our community. So I'm suggesting that not only do we need to keep those themes in mind as what we are seeking to rise above in the efforts of mutual aid and cooperation and all the efforts that we are undertaking to come up to the circle of community. that we need to see that we are engaged in a process of peacemaking and bringing the contending parties to the peace table. And however we make our own peace table, that we need to see how do we negotiate from what we are in to what we are seeking to. And we cannot simply ignore those forces that are defining the reality. We need to engage and press for their transformation. As somebody said, I think in the first go around, I'm looking for 100% participation, not just the 99%, but that somehow the sense that we are dealing with a system of war and domination, and the war system is the major polluter. It is that which is suffocating the entire life system. And if one could take, as my friend Peter Linebaugh, a historian of the Commons, put it, we are now in the ultimate enclosure, that the corporations, the exploiters, the extractors, the profiteers have taken from the most ancient life system, way down in the depths of the earth, from the oil, from the coal, and they have created their industrial era of capital wealth, so-called, and not attending to the externalities that they have used. And the externalities are what is now the ultimate enclosure of a polluted life system of carbon dioxide, of methane, that is suffocating the entirety of humanity. That is the ultimate enclosure that we must break out of. And so I just wanted to put those ideas out there. We are dealing with a war system. We can be cooperative and friendly in our little circles, outside of the reality, but the reality is militarism, materialism, racism, and nationalism. And that is what we are struggling with, to create some sense of mutual aid, of community, of love and caring and helping and healing. And healing is most important, because that is what we are. We are in an injured society, and we need to recognize that the residue of the past 5,000 years has injured the human potential of caring and sharing and loving and helping, and this little child of family. And at the family level, there is love. At the social level, we are dominated by structures of power. And to free ourselves from those, in some way, we need to bring the questions to the peace table. So I just wanted to put that out there, because above the mutual aid and the caring that we have for one another, we're dealing with a most vicious, uncaring system. And one thought is, I worked very much on the questions of Israel and Palestine. When somebody said, so Alan, where are you going to have a meeting with this peace table? I said, well, I hadn't thought about it. What do you think? He said, well, go to Megiddo. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, you heard of Armageddon? I said, yeah, Har Megiddo. The Armageddon in the Christian revelation is a place where this big war happens. Go to the place of the big war to make the big peace. And that's now an archaeological site in Israel overlooking the Green Line. And when one goes there, one sees all the structures of the system that we are of life, the security and the steps into the archaeological site, into the old fortified place, the tunnel that gives to the control of the water supply, the tomb of royalty of the old privilege, and the old high place underneath all the square temples was the round circle of stone from before the time of the wars. So this sense that we are dealing with a long history, and we have to draw out of that history, what are the ways to see in a new story from the old high place before the time of war? What is the new social contract that we can enunciate? It looks at all these questions together in some human way that is poetic, mythic, but can somehow touch the heart. And that's what we are doing is somehow, how do we find the story that can touch the hearts, that can communicate even with people who are in the 1% and don't recognize, or they do, but they don't know how to deal with the change that they too have to be part of the making. So anyhow, that's my added little pebble to put into the pond. I hope I haven't taken too long to indulge my endeavors.
It was beautiful, and it couldn't be a better way to frame up talking about how we go forward. Anyone else want to speak before we dive in a bit?
I'd just like to comment on that briefly. That one of a comment that has made a lot of sense to me recently is the idea of of moving forward rather than of resisting or fighting what currently is, because it seems to be crumbling of itself, and our job, maybe more than fighting it, is to work on building up the replacement system and focus on that. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? So here's some of both, but doing more focused in the building area. Actually, Rebecca, a couple of years ago, connected us with a beautiful event here called Resist and Build. It's making me think of some work I did at a workshop with Charles Eisenstein at a workshop that he led that I went to, and some other writing of his. So one of the things just talking about, or one of the things we did in the workshop was just pairing up with someone we had never met before and spending very little time with them. I think we didn't even speak at first. I don't remember, like we would have spent very little time together, almost none. And then we needed to say the gifts that we saw in each other. And even with not knowing people, it was so easy, so much easier to identify gifts in other people or name them than it can be to name the gifts in yourself. And then another aspect that he, I think, was writing about was evolution, that it's not that every being is just like deciding, what to do and going and doing it. Like we fill niches, we get called to do different things. Like it's a listening as well as agency is also about listening to needs of the world. And that's actually one of the reasons we went so heavily in the build direction in mutual aid networks. Some of you already know the reason we decided to call ourselves mutual aid networks is we wanted to have the initials MAN and become the man, like the American phrase about like working for the man. We want to be working for the man on our own terms, which means like rebuilding healthy gender relationships, reasserting the highly valuable role of what has been constituted women's work, creativity and care and play and autonomy and agency and free time and leisure. That's what we want to be working for the man. So we're making the man, and we have gone very heavily in the build direction. And as Goretz wrote in the chat, like the Buckminster Fuller quote, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So that's what we're aiming for here. I'm just going to give a touch of overview, and I just want to share how the rest of today is going to go in terms of the Solidarity Summit. We have another hour and 14 minutes in our session today. So we want to bring you up to speed a bit on where we are and where we're going. We'll have that be mostly participatory. One piece of it is going to be Cyril leading us through. We are engaged in an open source software project to really help us operationalize these visions and dreams that we have. So we're going to get to that pretty soon and spend, I think, about 15 minutes on it. After we do that, I'm just going to ask people to share. We can do a bit of question and answer because there are a lot of mutual aid approaches and projects and perspectives represented here. And a lot of times people just want to be able to ask each other questions. So we'll do some of that. But I'm going to, I have a couple collaborative slides that I'll encourage you to write on. I want you to share some of where you're going and what you need to get there. So we will get into that too. At the end, we'll have a board election. So yeah, we have more than half our candidate, or we have about half the board in the middle of a term that'll just continue on. And then we have some people up for election and some people not running. And we have some room for people to nominate themselves from the floor if you would like to. So every single person here has very valuable perspectives and work and plenty to offer on the board, and any of you would be welcome to nominate yourselves from the floor. So just laying that out there. There'll be more nuts and bolts on that later. Any burning questions before I continue? All right, so I mentioned we're a cooperative aiming to redesign work by redesigning our own work lives and those of people in our networks. And we are, our mission is to create means for everyone to discover and succeed in work they want to do with the support of their community. Alan referred to the context in which we operate. It's not spelled out here, but we are operating in a context where we do understand that the thing that we are building the alternative structure to is the thing that's currently dominating, which is relatively very few people have chosen to assert ownership and control over the whole world and its living systems, and maintain that control through force, and then have systems that maintain it somewhat more automatically, such as globalized capitalism, bank debt money, various hierarchical and power and control structures. So we are built on core principles, and we aimed to build on core principles that would be somewhat immutable and fundamental. So we're aiming to create structural change and you know, again, build this new system and build it solidly enough that it can't get co-opted by the forces that tend to co-opt a lot of structures. So we are a type of corporation in this very corporate dominated world. We think we can be a type of corporation that competes and wins, and we compete and win because everyone wants to join our team, because our game is way more fun. It invites their friends and family and relatives in a spirit of healthy communication, cooperation. One of the things that we've been reflecting on a lot is pain not transformed is transferred. So we really want to build structures that are continually looking to transform the pain and create new opportunities and invitations in an ongoing way for people to participate in redesigning work, using reciprocity, respect, voluntary and open membership, democratic member control, member economic participation, autonomy and independence, cooperative education, training and information, mutual aid among mutual aid networks, open, transparent tracking and performance measures, shared open source tools and processes, and building community sustainability. So in service of this shared open source tools and processes that can support all of the things that we want to do, we've been undertaking an open source software ecosystem project. And I would like to turn this over to Sibyl now to acknowledge that I always mispronounce your name, so my apologies. I'm trying and will try more. Yeah, I would like to turn it over to you, and you can let me know what screen to share, etc. Meanwhile, I'll stop.
Yes. Thank you, Stephanie. No worries with my name. Yes, in French we say Sibyl, but it's an international name, so it can be pronounced as you wish. It's coming from ancient Greek. This wise woman who were seeking the future and giving counsel. So I try to be. Okay. So yes, you may know that for I think it's almost 4 or 5 years now that human, well, at the beginning the name was man, but now it's humans, use a software that I've hacked because I was a software engineer and I for the big companies, for many type of company. So I know a lot of secret. But then since 2008, I'm putting all my energy to help all the solidarity economy actors. And so I bring my experience from enterprise software to our work to make a better world. So before I try to convince some software programmer to adapt their tools, but was unsuccessful. So I found with Julien, that was one of my colleagues, this ERP, meaning it's enterprise resource planning, meaning a real business software, but open source and quite easy to hack. And then we hack it to make something more horizontal with the project management and a marketplace that is still, for now, unfortunately, the only one that allow multiple currency in an announcement and in the exchange. And it's also can follow the quantity, meaning the warehouse, the stock, to help, and also a connection between task and demand, because very often I've observed that in most of the organizations there are always a core team, and then there are other circle around, but very often the core team wish people to contribute but don't know how to do, and then the people a bit more far want to contribute but don't know what to do. And this, during the project management, you can, when you have a task, then you can transform it in a demand on the marketplace, and everyone can come and talk if they agree, talk maybe about the contribution, in which currency, one or several or none, and then being include directly in the project and task management. Okay, this is still useful because there are also many other functionality like mailing list. Even I'm using this for invoice and accounting, not the man, but myself and from some association I'm leading. And but it's a bit we were lacking of money, of resource. It's a bit very complex software with a quite old informational data structure. So now and it's not very interoperable with other tools, because what we wish is really to have the best tools to ease our work, to really the software must be at the service of the human and not the opposite, as we see in our old ancient paradigm. Now we say it's ancient, and now we are currently in our new paradigm. And so we are very dispersed in many software. A lot of are private, some are free, but then you are the product, and so it's not fair because we are not competing with because the big business have all the tools to help them be very productive. So why not making us good tools to be productive with congruence with our value, of course, not failing in the all the failure of the digital tools. So after we made a journey in May and June, during 2 months, I've invited, because I'm very active in and connected to many communities, and I've seen that most of them have the same needs, digital needs, and the same problem, and no one have enough money and resources to make it. So my intention was to gather them with some very innovative and good spirit geeks, and to during 2 months, sorry, and I really don't remember how many sessions, but I think 4 or 6 sessions, to explore our needs, look at the possibilities that the geeks were explaining with all this new tech in the web that is now available, and then to find our on our shared needs and to make some strategy. And fortunately, because sometimes you do this, but nothing happened after, but yes, something happened after. So now since September, we are working, because one of the geek present his tool that is now, I think, 6 years, totally open source. The name is Communecté. In French, it's Communectaire, you say. So he's coming from the island of Réunion. That is a very specific island because it's where the most radical, disruptive horizontal cooperation exists, in my opinion. And there are many things up from this island. So I don't know, there is something special because there are also a melt of many different ethnies, I would say. People from India, from Africa, from Europe, from Asia, so maybe it's this, so it can prove that diversity makes the wealth. And his software is, so it's not decentralized, that maybe we wish, but it's very open, and he decided to not centralize to start to make his, but then ready to decentralize as soon as the tech and the people are ready to make the effort. But it's very connected to many other tools. So they just make they call it a territory social network, but not social like Facebook. It's more, in France, we have 2 names. We say societal, meaning talking about the society. So it's something to help geographic territory to show all his actors, all his resources, all his needs, and to observe what happened, to help have a good sense about what is happening. So they have a public instance, the name Communecté, where we are, and they have some specific instance in white brand. For instance, most of the researchers about whales and dolphins are using one like this. Then they can organize their research. They can share all their resources and have an observatory at any level, or very specifically in a bay, or more generally in a country, or really more globally in the world, with no effort. And in France also, they use the same with the white brand to make some citizenship participation to push all the official elected to make some commitment and then follow their commitment. on during their mandate. So it's very interesting. And the good thing that there are, I would say, 80% of what we need. And it's done to be very user-friendly because it's done for normal citizens, not disruptive people like us. So there is also a phone app. And we are just starting, but to learn it and appropriate, we do our project to upgrade all our digital tools using Communicate. So that we have entered the humans organization, create a project that is human dev. And then in this project, there are some action. And when we do a meeting, for instance, that it's an action, we can choose to give credits. So meaning give the contribution currency in man. Then it's tracking all our contribution with very little effort. And we can also make all the, if you go to CoSpace, but we have not yet used it. I have screened, if necessary, to show you. This is to all the governance. So you can make proposals and comments and objection or consent. And then when a proposal is consented, it's become an action, and then you can follow and feedback. Also having feedback of your action. And there is also using really the best tech today, because we can build, there is already some kind of marketplace. Yes, if you go to this, yes, little, so you see all the marketplace with they have categories by a gift or exchange or a job. And the thing that they have choose to not manage the money transfer, meaning that any exchange can be done because it's out of the tool. And so they allow any, in France, we have a lot of alt currency. So they allow some of them, most of them, but not several in the same announcement. So, but then people can talk. And so what we wish is to allow multiple currency and maybe to manage all the internal currency flow, maybe not the hard dollar, because there is all the bank fees and everything, and then you get, it's a big deal to manage all this, but this will be a choice. And also to, that's what is not really visible, but we will also improve, because they are not, they are flow, managing all the flow of information of our contribution of wallet, but not really in an accounting way. So we wish to improve this. So we will be able to make all the reciprocity loop, meaning this is with Goratz that have designed this from his research. It's a way of making profit, and that is going back to the one who has been involved, even also the user that is always forgotten, and then to make kind of a circular feedback flow of wealth that water everyone, so we can be all sustainable and stop to divide consumer and producer, but being together, even the intermediaries that are necessary. And because thanks to Communicate, they are using the form, like Google form, but in a very, very deep and interesting way. That means we can, without paying a coder, but just a good user, can create some new screen to really fit our needs. So I cannot show you yet this, because we have to think what really we need. But we are with a team that is not there because he's very busy building shelter for people. is ergonomist, and we will. That's why I was saying in previous sessions that I wish to see all the tools you are using, because it will not be to ask you to change all your tools, but maybe to plug your tools or to get inspired by your best tools and to adapt, communicate, to frame, to be as your best tools. So this has to be done together, and hopefully little by little we will get rid of all the Google, because you've seen this slide is still in Google, and we are not very happy with this. We are talking on Zoom, we are not very happy. We want really to give, to walk or talk, and then to not give the money to the one we don't want to support, but to give money to the one who want to support. So we prefer to pay some Jitsi or some community. Community actually is it's a co-op that is doing this. It's named Open Atlas, and they're working in a very horizontal and like liberated enterprise with full contribution tracking. And within community, you can see all what they are doing, all decisions they are doing. So it's total, even for us that we are outside for now, maybe we'll join them. Open Atlas, they make all their management and governance totally transparent. And then many organizations in France, because so you have to understand that this software is really French speaking, and Coratz has made a lot of work to translate, but it's not all totally perfect, because then we have helped them to frame the software. So any new translation will be easier, because some were, coded in the hard code. So it was they were really nice, because they have done the translation with the help of Coratz. But now the next translation will be better for Spanish or Portuguese or Arabic, or I don't know what will be the next. And then there are already existing tools, like the Nextcloud, that can replace Google Drive, Doc, Slide, spreadsheet. There are Kanban that can replace Trello. There are Jitsi can replace Zoom, and there are other, but just now I don't remember. It's late in France, I'm sorry. So yes, and we have lunch, so we need help for now, just now, not too much in contribution, because we have not totally understood, and very soon we'll produce some documentation and things like this to include all contribution, because we want this project to be, of course, open, and contribution from the local sister site, because this is really intent to help all of us, not to be just for Stephanie and me. And we have launched a crowdfunding campaign that maybe Stephanie will give you the link. So if you, your organization, or even some partner organization wish to make a better world in the digital space, that I think it's very, very urgent and important, because I don't know if you know, but in France, we are being totally tracked as China with our phone, and I'm not allowed to go in public transportation and things like this. So we have to get back the power of internet and our digital tools, and to be congruent and stop using their tools. And because for me, it's what I was saying in the Yellow Vest in France, there were protesters trying to ask for a better world, but we must not ask, but make it. And they were organizing in all the GAFAM tools. So the police were right away coming. And I was telling them, but do you think that the resistance in the Second War were organizing and doing their meeting in the Gestapo house, office? No. So I think it's the same for us. We must not use this. And because we can set up them to be congruent in our value, where when we use all the very business oriented tools, we are shaped by the tools, and then it's very difficult to walk or talk when you use digital architecture that is done for extraction and competition. I think it's enough.
Thank you. So there are some roles that people can play in this journey, if you would like, and I can spell some of those out and collect information. If people want to, you can let me know in the chat. But are there burning questions, first of all, or have we missed any pieces? I'll stop sharing.
And maybe Goratz want to add something because he's very involved.
I just went to the website as you were talking, and and it looks like it's bringing me to greennetproject.org. I don't know, maybe that was not as, is that something associated, or did I end up at the wrong place?
I think it's a wrong place.
Okay, thanks. It says Communector, so I just, I guess it's associated. Maybe it's one of the projects that's using Communector. I don't know. So
maybe
that's
because
possible.
yes, many organizations in France now use this because they can, do all the synchronize their work, and then instead of being alone and not being seen, then everything can see them. For instance, all the many of the transition maker are in this platform, meaning they are visible for because it's done for citizens. So that is, if I'm looking just at the 10 kilometers around me, I can see different type of activity done by the change makers. Instead of going to the organic shop website or energy co-op website, it's all in the same place. So that's really easy to be seen and then to be used by normal, I would say, citizen.
So what is the URL that would lead me to there to?
Yes, we'll put
it's
it.
in chat.
Oh, it's
in
the
chat.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
I'll find it there. Thanks.
Yeah, and then we'll have a way to invite people into the process as users after a minute. Goratz?
I just I think Sibyl says it all. Maybe just Oseko. Maybe just a little bit. There is a part of Connector that deals with projects and managing the projects, and it's good. It's well connected in the system. And one of the things, maybe just to stress once again, it's the beauty of Connector. It's that it is open and it's connectable, and it's built on open data and semantic principles, and which means basically that it has you can connect a Connector with basically everything else. And that's the beauty of it. You can interchange the data. You have to build the bridge, of course, but once the bridge is done, then it's not so simple, but it is way simpler than using anything else that I know of.
Yes, I forget to mention that they have a chat, but instead of rebuilding a chat, they use Rocket Chat. But as its data are connected within the community and the Rocket Chat, so in the chat, all the comments you put in community, you can find it back in the chat in some channels, and in some channels you can with some certain way of writing it with you have to learn it, but then it can create an action or a proposal in Community. So some people always work in the chat, never go to Community, and some go both. Some prefer to work in Community. And it's just one of the examples of the really interoperability, interconnection.
So some of what I'm showing right now, hopefully you can see it, is back into Communector. And so what we are doing, so Goratz has put in a bunch of work translating more of it into English. And as Cyril said, helping shift the how it is written and structured so it's more easily translatable in the future. We are just practicing with it as a core group of people, and we're like just learning how to use it and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Some of you know our wonderful friends and work partners, Lynn and Bob, who work on value flows. So they just spelled out what they think could happen that would make value flows part of Communector in a way that helps it really meet some of the needs that we're talking about having fluid exchange of work and exchange of other kinds of services and goods so we can more meaningfully meet our needs. So she's written that up. The Communector team is willing to do work on this because they are vision aligned. They will help us for human hours, and we're looking for money to pay developers because there's like plenty of software that needs to be worked on. And most of us have been working on this without being paid any money at all. And so actually that's one of the things that we're working on doing is integrating it more so we can meet some of our monetary needs as well. Currently, we haven't yet gotten all those systems in place. One way that we're looking to get it. So one ask that I have is for people to jump in and play with this with us if you like to. You don't have to know about software. We need people who don't know about software. So we need people to play with this as users. Any of you would be welcome. Don't feel that there's any like barrier from your end that would be a barrier for us. It's up to you if you want to do it. We need people who have some skills, who want to consider contributing skills. We'd like people to consider earning human hours and help make them valuable to you by using the system. And we're looking for people to fund this so we can go ahead and pay people and get these things done more quickly as well. And to that end, I wanted to show you, we did set up an account in Open Collective, and we want to start experimenting with using this to meet the monetary needs of the Humans Network. So the monetary needs of the Humans Network right now are pretty minimal for an organization. We pay way too much for computer server space. So we pay a couple $100 a month total for all our expenses, and most of it goes just to companies like Zoom, Rose Hosting. And so we want to shift that. We can spend the same amount of money much more wisely. And we do, all of us do still have some bank debt for monetary needs. So we would like to bring in money that can meet those needs. For example, here in my neighborhood, we rent space and we use it to meet a lot of our needs. And yeah, that money has to come from somewhere, and it has to come in US dollars until we get a better foothold. So in Open Collective, I've just started setting this up, but I'm going to encourage people to start supporting us there and make recurring contributions. This is one of the tools that I would hope to make as part of the ecosystem with Communector. Like, it would be lovely if we can be doing the crowdfunding and the very transparent budgeting stuff that Open Collective does and have it visible from the same space that we're looking at our other information that we've been talking about. Open Collective as an organization is up for pursue it, if we're looking at that, and their software is built in a way that can do that. So I want to make it clear, it's very, very possible. All of this is very concretely possible right now. And what we need is people to give time, money, give their ability, their willingness to test it. So here's the project for the software itself. We're calling it HOME. And this is from Goratz, and I love it. Homeostatic mutual exchange. And I like building a home for the humans, not just for the humans, but so anyhow, we will put up more information here. I just got this set up, but I'm going to encourage you. You are welcome to offer to help us to flesh this out in a compelling way too. So yeah, so those are some of our asks. We need help testing. We need help with communications, with telling the positive stories, with governing the organization. So we'll come to that in a minute. We need to, or in a few minutes, we need to do our board election. But I, before that, just want to jump back to us as a group gathered here. Jump into a question for you all about where are we and where would we like to go. I'd like you to feel invited now to put any of your dreams on here. We don't have to talk about it now, and we won't have time to talk about much of it. But I would love for you to, if you have dreams that you haven't expressed here, where you would like to be going. Let's just do a go round of that. I guess before we do that, anyone want to throw in any other burning questions or comments about the software stuff? And we will log like offers of contribution and need in that way too in the next few minutes. Anything specifically on the software? Okay. So yeah, I would love to, I guess I have a question, which is, yeah, where are you now? Like each of your mutual aid efforts, or your own, individual perspective, you and your community, and what are the main things that would be helpful to spring you from where you are to where you need to go. And my example that's real is where we are is people recognizing the need, people really wanting to jump in and engage, and it continues to be trickier than I would like it to be, to have like really tangible ways to plug in that are digestible, bite-sizable. So I could use, I could always use help with that. And I think for me, what the help really is like the actual doing of it. Like, if someone from a different place thinks that they could, write a proposal or help make a podcast that helps get one of our dream team members to get his radio station project up and running, to just like come and do it, just offer it, especially since we're doing so much virtual work anyway. So I guess that is my dream, is to like have the bite-sized tangible things that people can do. And then my big need to make that happen is for you all and me to go ahead and do those things. Pass the mic to whoever wants it, just pipe up.
My icmatch.org website is scheduled to go live in about 5 days. So I'm excited that about the timing, because I'll be able to, it's a time when people are just off work and, open to talking with friends. And my hope for it is that it's something that where, by joining in more in ways, intentional community, whether it means, co-housing, or if it's even just joining into projects and that involve the sharing economy, that can help free up people's resources that we sometimes just get bogged down by, just getting by. And so it's hard to find that extra time or that extra money to devote to the things that we're really passionate about. We're just like sometimes treading water. And so that's why I've been really focusing on this project, because I'm hoping it's a way to springboard some people into a place where they have more to devote.
Kate, do you have a particular, I know it's very late where you are, so hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot at the wrong time, but do you have a particular point that you see your development? You've had so much going on and so much emerge and flourish. Do you have a particular need to go into your next phase?
You mean me? Or were you?
Is it from Kate in Hull?
Oh, okay.
I don't know if she's right there right now. But if you have one, feel free to say. I wasn't sure if you.
No worries. I figured you weren't talking about me because it's not that late where I am, but okay.
All right. So I put links in the chat, and you can join the Humans, donate to the Humans, check out the Open Collective, sign up for Human News email list. And then I guess what I would like you to do, if you think of things, to add them in the future on that slideshow, like what would be helpful to you. And if you want to participate in this open source software project, please just type something in the chat or let me know now. And if we're ready, I would suggest shifting gears into our board election. Are we ready? So especially, I do want to share one of the updates from Humans. We didn't do as much of a total update as we have in the past. So hopefully we're giving you enough information online, et cetera, and you feel that you can connect and ask questions when you need to. But one of the things that did just happen that I haven't put out a blog or anything, I'm just realizing about, is we became members of the New Economy Coalition, and I'm very excited. It's I think it's a mostly US organization, but not completely. And a lot of really incredible different economic players. And also the organization is grappling with the misnomer calling it a New Economy Coalition, because realizing that so much of what needs to happen anew is to go back to healthier ways of being that often still exists and are being actively suppressed. So we want to be sure to be appreciating that, that it's not new, that we are connecting new and old. And I love how Alan described it about the circle encompasses the square and nothing is lost. And I would love actually to maybe use peace table building in different communities as some of these community creating and shared learning opportunities. So that might be a way that we can incorporate a few of these things at once. I'm going to log that for myself as a next step. So we became part of the New Economy Coalition, and that was a very long preamble to say, after participating in their board election, that was extremely thorough, very planned out, took the course of many weeks, so lots of people could weigh in. We're being really opposite, seat of the pantsy board election. So I just want to acknowledge that. It's worked okay for us over the years, and a lot of things have been seat of the pants by necessity, because the people who are here are pretty, like, the people who have stuck around are people who have done it without getting paid money for long periods of time. And so sometimes we do things really on the fly. So I think that it's good that we can build the skills and patience and capacity to do things really on the fly. And it's good to strive to have the kind of structure and support that we can be much more thorough and have a much more inclusive and deep process in this governance. So just want to own that. Meanwhile, we have an awesome board. We govern ourselves via sociocracy. We, oh, and Rebecca says we have a pretty high level of trust amongst us. And yes, thank you for saying that. And everything about the Humans Network and mutual aid networks is built on relationships. And that is the strength of it, is the relationships that we've all cultivated and continue to. And I remember when I first started a time bank, I was in a very much more colonized mindset at that point, looking to start a system, a mechanistic thing, like launch a software and walk away. And Ana Miares said to me when I met her, she's like a grandmother of time banking, who's left us years ago, but she said to me when I first met her, she said, it's about relationships. She said it very sternly and very intensely. And to be honest, I didn't want to believe it. And to me, that is the lesson, is that how could I have not wanted to believe it? Like, everything is so much richer now that I get that. So that's the key. And I know that once we like all do enough and experience enough of that to realize it, like, we don't need all this structure ultimately, and we won't have it and it will fall away. And I would like to recommend everyone to read the book that I picked up recently by David Graeber and David Wengrow, The Dawn of Everything. I think can help us learn a little bit more of our past that we can draw on and go toward. So that was very long preamble for a board election. And I would like to, I want to say who our board candidates are and have been, and see if people are interested in nominating themselves for the board. I think I should say who is currently on the board and who's up for election first, and then do that. So we have some people coming to the end of their term that are not running right now, that we will ask to, if they would like to be on the working board again, we'd love to have them again. And if they don't have capacity for that, we'll encourage them to be on our advisory board, which is pretty much a name only board of people that we look to for inspiration and occasionally connect with for advice or things like that. And then the board that we're doing elections for today is a working board, and we are very much a working board. But the only time commitment that everyone completely commits to is one meeting a month. But many of us do work group stuff beyond that. So we like when people commit more, and we welcome a variety of levels of commitment and realize that's always a part of any governing body. So Blair Anderson is one of our Detroit partners, and has brought a lot of history and current activism to our work. He's a Black Panther, started a parenting from prison organization, and has done tons of new work and new culture work in Detroit. Brandon King, we met through Cooperation Jackson, is now in Virginia, is an artist, cultural activist, and cooperative activist. Anna Urzua is in Santa Ana, California, working with community, I'm gonna say the wrong name of the organization, but a community organization that's been doing incredible work with community ownership and land trusts and community benefit agreements when developers come in, and food justice, language justice, and cooperative development. So incredible work, and we're honored to have had all these people with us. My term is up and I would like to run again. Tyler Norman is not running. He was our representative on mutual aid disaster relief, community of practice all around the world about what it says. Dawn Morrison stepped down a couple months ago, is the founder of Working Group on Indigenous Food Sovereignty in what's now British Columbia. And again, a person that all these people are people we consider advisors, and all of the things that we have learned from them continue to do our best to apply and continue to learn from them. So midterm, we have a number of these people here who can introduce themselves. Yeah, so how about if we hear from the people who are here who don't need to run again? And maybe say what your focus is on the board. And we've had a great opportunity to hear like in depth on Sibel's work today. So I don't need to put you on the spot too much more, but anything you want to share about, about governance.
I'm very pleased to be on the board. I'm very close to the MAN network for years, but just recently, 2 years now on the board. Yes, I've talked about the software, so you know about it. And while my other role is to talk and about the Humans Network in France and in all with whatever France and elsewhere. And there was a French sister site, but finally they are not really started. They will be, I hope, 2 more. When the both are some co-op, one existing and making some very good thing, and the other will be a factory with a big factory of 12 hectares that want to make some circular economy and very open to the city, everything. So hopefully, and supporting Stephanie because she's doing so well. So she deserves to be helped.
Tim isn't with us. We people heard from him earlier. He's also in Madison, Wisconsin, and he's been working all the time to get this place ready to attempt or to provide shelter to people who don't have housing over the winter. Industrial engineer, ergonomist, very great organizational minds, and many, many things. Delonte Wilkins he's with our DC sister site, Mutual Aid Link Up, also does prison organizing, has a prison magazine, and just very, a lot of really cool aspects to that project, including making a mixtape. I thought I was sharing my screen of the people's names, but I don't think we necessarily just need to see everyone's names. And Kurt was with us briefly, but has had to go. I'm reading in order, and then I'll come to Kate and Rebecca. Kurt's in Milwaukee. He is active in making the world become much more meaningfully inclusive of people of all abilities. And he does that in a variety of ways, in a variety of communities, and is doing a regular podcast now, and is part of that getting out a new story of how the world can be. Annalise Hall is in New Zealand and will be with us tomorrow hosting a roundtable, does work with Living Economies Networks and has set up time banks and is working on mutual aid in New Zealand, Aotearoa. And we'll hear more from her tomorrow. And then Kate and Rebecca, will you introduce yourselves, Kate? Oh, right, I called on Kate before, and I think maybe Kate isn't with us anymore. So hopefully you heard about some of Kate's really incredible work in Hull in the UK. They're doing a whole lot around food, but have a community center and are working on connecting with refugee communities there and bringing their feastable model of having everyone make and share food together and build community and agency in that way, bringing that out to different refugee communities, among a lot of other things. And then Rebecca, will you introduce yourself?
Yep, Rebecca again. I've been on the board since the beginning. I'm also on the board of the Madison Mutual Aid Network. And Sorry, a little distracted here. Dogs and people coming in the house and babies responding. And yes, I'm interested in remaining on the board. I've been, while I was involved with public service, I was not super active, but I look forward to next year becoming more active because we all need this. And I didn't have anything really concrete to offer that question of like, where are we and where do I see us going? But I did just have an image flash in my mind of we're like little tiny glowing embers all around the globe. And, you know, I see us growing and growing and having our connective tissue built even stronger. And, you know, what the work Sibyl showed us is a kind of a manifest example of that. So, I mean, we just have to do it because otherwise, you know, what are we going to do? Otherwise, there's really no alternative. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I would like to open it up to nominations. I'd like to make a nomination of Goratz if you are willing to accept that nomination.
Yeah. As I said, if you want to have a troublemaker on the board, then no problem. Yeah, well, the dreams you said you asked before, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if the word cooperative activist would be considered as a normal human being, not an activist? That's what I think we need to do. I mean, the whole world, the whole nature is cooperating. It's working together, and we were convinced that we have to compete. I mean, that's crazy.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful goal. So I'll open it to see if anybody would like to nominate yourselves. Everybody here would be welcome, and no pressure, but any of you would have a perspective. And Kathy.
I'm not sure I'm nominating myself, but I want to make an offer that I wonder if would help the board or help the organization. I mentioned before, I'm really leaning into sociocracy, trying to make that my profession. So I've got a lot of training left to do this year, and hopefully I'll be certified by the end of the year. I really need practice with facilitation and even in implementation. Have you guys already totally formed the organization sociocratically? No?
No, we would like to, that was a goal for us in our first year, is to like have totally sociocratic bylaws, and we never really got the capacity. But I for one would really welcome like a guided process,
like a log book and like the double linking in those structures. Are those in place? If they are, I have not like seen them, I guess.
No, we strive toward it, but no, like I said about the seat of the pants, that applies here too.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah.
This is my offer. It's like, this is always an aspirational place I want to be involved in. And this year I really need to buckle down and make sure I get that experience right. But I could think of like no better place that I'd rather offer those gifts than, you know, this place. So I'll just put a pin in that. That's why I've kind of been quiet, is like, I'm supposed to make this offer when I'm not a member of the circle, because to be like a consultant and to do that implementation, right now there's only like 4 certified consultants in the US on their map. So whenever I get my little diploma, I'll be number 5, like 5, 6, and 7, you know, with my class. So I can bring my expert people to help me as well. So anyway, I want to put that out there. So I don't think it'd be a board position, but I want to support the board if that would be needed or wanted.
That's wonderful. And we're a co-op, so we'll check in with everybody about it after. And I really, really welcome the offer. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone want to consider joining the board? All right, hearing none, I would suggest that we just propose this as a slate, but I am on the board running again. So if you think it would be better to have someone else make a proposal, that's fine. So I would just propose that we adopt this group as the board and do it through consent decision making, which would mean that we would ask if anyone has an objection. If you have an objection, it needs to be rooted in vision, mission, or aims. And so if you had the objection, you would state the objection, and then we would need to resolve the objection to your satisfaction before it goes forward. If you are concerned about any aspect of the slate, but you don't want to make the formal objection that needs to get worked with, you would say you consent with concern, and you would spell out your concerns because we want to know what the concerns are. And if no one has any objections, then we have all agreed enthusiastically to the slate. Is that clear? And especially Kathy, being a sociocracy pro, feel free to guide me. I welcome that too.
You're doing great. I'm not a pro yet. I'm still getting my chops.
80 pro. All right, does that sound good? We're ready to go through and vote on this slate of candidates, which will include, I'll spell it out. I'll show it on my screen too. I just realized I'm not doing that. I would like to give Goratz an opportunity. What you said was really beautiful about your dream for the world. And is there anything else you want to share about yourself briefly before we vote on this slate? I know we'll hear more from you tomorrow, which I'm super excited about. Any bit about who you are and what you see yourself bringing to the board?
Oops, okay. Well, just briefly, I already introduced myself before, but let's go just quickly over. I'm mechanical engineer by education. I finished mechanical engineering in old Yugoslavia, and I have an MBA degree from United States of America, so I know both worlds. And I was, in my previous life, I was working in all different kinds of work. I was in marketing, in management most of the time, software, animation, production, and I can assure you that that is really no business like show business. That's true. And now in this life, I am mostly working with cooperatives, and with this, my idea is not to create yet another cooperative, but create an ecosystem of cooperatives. That's my goal, because I think it's not enough to have a one cooperative, but you have to have a interoperable cooperative that are creating an ecosystem that is self-sustaining and self-governing, and doing that in a way that it is done in nature, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel, because nature has done everything for us. We just have to find a proper solution in nature and then implement it into the society. That's what I'm doing. That's what I was researching for the last 8 years, and that's what we are basically implementing now, with the help of what we see here with common actor, value flows, reciprocity loops, value vectors, etc., etc. Just quickly. Awesome. And ask whatever you want if you want to know.
Any questions? That's great, and I'm really looking forward to learning more from your experience tomorrow. So the only people we need to vote on are me and Goratz. Does someone else want to ask the objection go around, so it's not me as one of the candidates? So again, we're asking if you have any objections to.
Sure, I'll do it.
Thank you.
So I will just go down the list and say, do you have any objections? And if there are none, that'll be pretty much the end of it. Stephanie, do you have any objections?
No objection.
Goratz,
None whatsoever.
Sibyl,
Oh,
Alan? He doesn't seem to be here. Ardell? Ardell, do you have any objections?
No objections.
Okay. Kate, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. No objections.
Okay, and Kathy?
No objections.
All right. Hearing no objections or concerns, I think we have our one new board member and one returning board member. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for being part of this annual meeting and of this summit. There's much more to come tomorrow. I also really want to express a lot of appreciation for just spending your weekend talking to the computer. I know that I'm like, the content is so cool this weekend. Like, I'm looking forward to talking to my computer this weekend. However, tomorrow I would like to actually make good on what I promised and failed to follow through. And like tomorrow we'll actually like have someone get us to move. Again, I'm terrible about leading of those things, but so if you're here tomorrow, think about if you want to take people through a little yoga, Kate, or a breath or a stretch or a song. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap up. I think you have access to the schedule for tomorrow. Let me know if you have any questions, but it's going to be good. We're going to do a weird hybrid here where we'll be gathered around a little fire pit in very cold weather for the first session. So that'll be fun. That's like we're forcing ourselves to take the opportunity to go door to door to our immediate neighbors and invite them to come talk about a difficult topic around the fire. So that'll be really interesting because the topic is COVID and what is the common good. It's like the trickiest conversation to have right now. So we'll do our best to model that human style. And Kate, thanks for connecting us with Campfire Conversations who are hosting that. Yeah, and then right after that, we hear from Goratz about Yugoslavia experiment in self-management. Super fascinating. Rebecca is going to lead us through a conversation about the solidarity economy principles, and then also share, we'll be sharing tips and materials for people to have that conversation in your local community. And then at the end, we will very much last but not least, we'll hear from our New Zealand friends because there's tons of amazing stuff happening there where it's tomorrow. Although, yeah, anyhow, where it's tomorrow. So we get to learn from them at the end of the day tomorrow. So that's it for today. We'll just do go around, give everyone a chance to say a couple of words to check out and we'll be done. Thanks, everybody. Pass the mic to Sybil, who's not on mute.
No. But thank you, everyone. I'm very pleased about the new board and we'll have fun. Thank you.
Good night, Kate. Good night.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful to be here. Looking forward to the year ahead. It's been I've been traveling since 7:30 this morning. So yeah, a little bit tired, but yeah, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Okay,
Like,
we're saying bye-bye. Say bye-bye, Pearl. Bye-bye.
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 Bye, everyone. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for accepting me. No risk, no fun.
Thank you. All right. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.